Hey, I'm Fredi the Pizza Man.
And I'm Meltdown from WRIF. I'm actually a lot taller on the radio.
Welcome to Inside the Pizza Oven. Check out all the past shows. Just go to YouTube and subscribe Inside the Pizza Oven.
And of course, donate to Fredi's awesome charity for autism awareness.
So, Meltdown, let me ask you, Rolling Stones or Beatles?
That is the question, right? I'll tell you what, they're going to have to watch the video to find out for sure.
Got it. Check out the video. Subscribe. Meltdown, welcome in.
How you doing? Good to see you.
Good to see you, man. I got to meet you in February at Ice Rink.
Yeah, when they were open?
Absolutely. Hockey's your passion. We're going to talk about hockey.
Yeah.
But we're going to, you said you made pizza before we started this, so... And then you started asking me, hey, should I put the cheese on first, the mushroom on first? I said, I'm not going to argue with Meltdown.
Well, I would think that the mushrooms would go first, and then, or the, pepperoni or whatever, and then the cheese would go on top of it. But I do love the squareness. I love the square pizzas.
Yeah, I know.
That's a thing of mine.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. Back in the day, I've been making pizza for 39 years. Back in the day, everyone put pepperoni on the bottom.
Okay.
Cheese on top. And then once pizza started exploding, people would call and say, where's my pepperoni? Because they wouldn't see the pepperoni. And I remember my dad used to tell me all the time when I was a kid, make sure you put the pepperoni all the way on the outside, because if they don't see it, they're going to call back and go play.
Yeah.
So then everyone started putting, the old timers will remember that, if they're watching. Now everyone puts the pepperoni last, because these are the cup and char.
Okay.
So when you put those on last, and when they cook in the oven, they're going to curl up, fill with grease, and burn on the end. And that's what everybody wants.
Okay.
Right?
If you say so, yeah. Now, I like mine a little crispy. Like, I like things a little burnt. So
that's going to be burnt, trust me. We're going to burn it.
Right.
We're going to burn it. We're going to make it as black as that shirt.
Okay, all right.
We're going to melt it down.
All right, melt it down. There you go.
So tell me, before I talk to you about Buffalo, tell me how you're going to dress this pizza.
Okay, so what I was thinking, how about this? Okay, I'm going to put like some mushrooms on and some pepperoni, then cheese, and then some more mushrooms and more pepperoni. How about that? On top. Get a little bit of everything.
Well, I hope you got enough cheese.
Oh, we'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
All right. So why are you dressing this? I want to ask you.
I got to put the stuff on here now?
Of course.
Okay.
You're the guest.
I've never done this before. Well, actually, it's been forever, I suppose, right?
So if you were hosting your show, would you be making the pizza, or would your guest be making the pizza?
I've never had a pizza guest before.
Meltdowns on Meltdown.
That's right.
Riff TV. And the last one he just did was hilarious for Thanksgiving, so check it out. So,
yeah, Thanksgiving jokes, yeah.
25 years at Riff. We're going to talk about that. Let's go back to Buffalo when you were a young kid. I mean, ironic. You came from Buffalo football to Detroit football. Poor guy. But we'll get into that. So, growing up as a kid, young kid.
Yeah.
Parents, tell me about your family life, your parents and
so my dad,
siblings.
Yeah, so like people ask me all the time, they're like, hey, what is Buffalo like? And I'm like, you know what?
It's hell.
Well, besides that, yeah. But it's just like Detroit, but just like half the size, Yeah. And so my dad grew up, and when I was growing up, my dad had a job at the steel plant. And like many kids, in the 80s, he lost his job at the steel plant, had to reinvent himself. And actually, funny story, since I know how much you're into sports, you've seen the movie The Natural, right?
Don't ask, because I've only seen like 10 minutes of it.
Really?
I have not seen. I know it's on my list.
Wow. I'm
the I am Meltdown. I'm the type of guy I rewatch the same old movies over and over. I'm that guy.
But I thought The Natural would have been something like right in your wheelhouse.
You know what? It was on a week ago, and I started watching like 10 minutes of it, and I said, I got to watch this movie. I'm 50 years old. I've got to watch it.
All right. So the reason I bring up The Natural is because that was in Buffalo. They filmed that in Buffalo, and my father was working at that ballpark while they were filming it.
Okay, so I remember that.
Yeah, so he had the whole thing shining, looking great, looking brand new, and they came in and painted everything gray.
Really?
So yeah, he got to see Robert Redford and all the stars every single day.
Did you go down there with your dad?
No, I never did, because I was working, I was going to school, I should say, and he at the time he was working like 3 jobs because we didn't have a lot. I grew up very, very middle class.
I like that.
So yeah, see, there you go.
You listen to me. You put the pepperoni on top.
Well, I put some underneath too. See, I told you.
I like that. The double decker.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Yeah.
So anyway, when I graduated from high school, I tried to get into radio and stuff. And I know you're going to ask me later about a DJ that inspired me, but we can talk about that right now if you wanted to.
Well, no, I want to ask you because I read. I was doing a little reading on it. That's good. That's good. I mean, you can even put more cheese.
I'll put a little bit more. Just a little.
Take my profits. Take all my profits. Put all the cheese on there. Take my basil. But it was funny because I was doing some reading on you, and you said you got. You know, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry.
Sure.
But you said you got in the radio because you listened to a guy and he was terrible.
That's right.
So you wanted to get in the radio. What?
That is true.
That's how that happened.
So my senior year when I went to school, I would. Am I doing this right?
No,
I don't even know.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
So in my senior year going to school, what happened was I would work at the bar restaurant that I worked at during the weekend. Then on Monday and Tuesday morning, I would go clean the bar before I went to school. So I was literally sitting there thinking, what am I going to do with myself? And I heard this guy on the radio, and he was awful. And at that moment, I'm like, that's all I'm going to do.
So how'd you know he was awful? So I mean, somebody could be watching this show and look at me and say, "This guy's awful."
Yeah.
How would you?
I don't know. Just heard him. It was just terrible. And then I got into radio, and about 2 or 3 years into radio, I heard that his father actually owned the radio station.
Oh.
He was that bad. They put him on in the middle of the night. I mean, if your dad owns a station, you're not on during the day, you know.
So you didn't go to college. You didn't go to broadcasting school, right?
No.
I mean, you got the voice. I mean, you got the pipe. So.
Yeah. So I networked, and I just knocked on doors, and finally, September 28th, 1989, I went in. I had an interview, just a board op, and for those people that don't know what that is, I would just run the board while they had satellite, a feed coming in, and I would just insert the commercials and do whatever. But I had my foot in the door, and so I did the interview with the legendary Buffalo morning radio show guy, and then I did the interview, and I left from there and went to the hospital because my mother had a mastectomy that day, and she ended up passing away a couple years later. Yes, we were my parents, and so then she was so excited that I got a job in radio, and so what I would do, since I was in the building, I kept giving the tapes and stuff to the program director at the FM side, the rock station. And so finally, about 5 months later, he gave me a shot and put me on the air on overnights, just on the weekends. And I just took advantage of it. So.
Were you always a rocker? Because I know when I emailed you a couple times and called you and said, "Hey, I'd love to have you in," and I said, "Up 10 o'clock in the morning," you're like, "Yeah, I'm a rocker, man. 10 o'clock in the morning."
I'm only teasing you about that. I usually get up pretty early because I play hockey in the morning. You know.
Have you always been around? I mean, rock and roll music is always been your thing?
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I discovered the Beatles when John Lennon was killed, and then or before that, I discovered Kiss. Well, what really changed me was I was in 7th grade, and one of my friends said, "You got to hear this guy Ozzy." And I went home that night, turned the radio on, and there it was, Crazy Train, and it was all downhill from there, uphill, whichever way you want to look at it. So.
Yeah, I mean, early 80s, man, you had Metallica, you had Ozzy. I mean, all those guys, they all came out at one time. It was Kiss, and that was big.
So anyway, so I heard that Ozzy song, and that song changed my life, that day. And so then I really got into music, and when I was listening to that rock radio station back home, and I heard that guy, and I'm like, I could do this, So I was like 17 or 18 at the time, and I just networked, and one thing led to another, and once I got my foot in the door, that was it. That's all I needed.
So your fans that watch you, and they obviously know you from Riff weekdays 3 to 7 WRIF, and they know you're a rocker. Could you say on camera other kind of music that you listen to? Could you say it?
Yeah. So, anyways,
could you get away with it?
I do like country, but I like real country. I don't like this pop country stuff.
I'm the same way.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's real country to you, but like Randy Travis.
Yeah.
Vince Gill. People don't talk about Vince Gill.
Well, I'll talk about him. I just hung out with him for about 2 hours about a month ago with Kid Rock and John Daly. I'll show you the video later. But no, Vince was awesome. I'd never met him before, and he was great. And I'll just relay a quick funny story. We were talking about Amazon or something. He goes, "Yeah, in my house we call it Amyzon," because his wife, Amy Grant.
Yeah.
So when he said that, I had to Google his wife. So I'm like, oh, that's right. Yeah.
When Arnold Palmer passed away, he had Vince Gill sing at his funeral.
Did he really?
Yeah. So a voice, and really, I mean, George Strait's my guy. George Strait, Randy Travis, Vince Gill. The other guys I'm thinking of right now, Alan Jackson.
Yeah.
Those are my guys. My guys. I know the pop country now. I get it.
Yeah, I get it too, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
And so I like since I got back into vinyl, vinyl records and stuff. I've kind of rediscovered this '70s rock that I never really let myself get into growing up. So, like for example, I just talked to Nancy Wilson the other day from Heart, and that's another band. that I never really got into, and all of a sudden it's like I buy, I get a couple of their records. I'm like, oh, this is pretty good, you know.
Well, they were good, man.
So, but of course, I still like the heavy stuff, I just bought some Pantera the other day. I bought some Typo Negative. I bought, I don't know. Whenever I go out and find, I'll go out and find stuff, and it could be something like Steely Dan. It could be something like Pantera, and everything in between.
I wish I would have researched this before I had you on, because I saw this a couple years ago, not even a couple years ago, but a guy from AC/DC. I don't know if he started AC/DC, but I saw him on social media. He turned into a pizza man. He started making pizza, I think, in England. I'm gonna look it up and I'm gonna send it to you. And I believe they said he started AC/DC, or he was part of the original AC/DC. So I'm gonna find it when I leave here. I'm gonna send it to you. But I thought that was incredible.
That'd be some trivia I didn't know anything about.
So. Oh, I know. When I saw it, I like AC/DC too. Growing up, But so you came to Detroit, and before I get you to Detroit and riff, Buffalo.
Yeah.
I mean, the Buffalo Bills, the Detroit Lions. You told me that you were at the famous 35-3 Buffalo Bills Houston Oilers game. I was just watching it the other day.
Yeah, I was there, and it was funny because I stood up when Frank Reich threw that pick six to start the second half. I stood up, and one of my buddies, I'll clean it up for you, he goes, "Where do you think you're going?" And I said, "I'm leaving." He goes, "Sit down, you're going to break the aura." Yeah. And I did. I sat back down, and you could feel once they scored that first touchdown. I want to say it might have been Andre Reed or somebody. It's like you could feel the momentum.
James Lofton.
Yeah, James Lofton. I mean, all those guys, Don Beebe, Jim Kelly. Well, Jim Kelly wasn't playing that game, but Thurman Thomas and Bruce Smith and all those guys, all those legends, And so then that was really something. I do have my autographed ticket up on the wall.
That's sweet. That was one hell of a game. I mean, I don't know if I bet that game, but if I bet it, I don't remember my reaction. But that game, unbelievable. 35-3. I still think it's a record. I don't think anyone's ever. Well, actually, I take that back. I think Kansas City last year.
In the playoffs?
In Houston, last year came back from a big deficit. Kansas City, Houston, ironically, Houston of all teams. But, I mean, how'd you get to Detroit from Buffalo?
So I lost my job in the starting at the summertime of 1995, and
on the radio.
Yeah. So the station.
Did you suck?
No. The station was sold, and new owners came in, and they decided to go in a different direction. The whole thing. So a lot of us lost our job that day. And I didn't know what to do. My opportunities had kind of like dried up in Buffalo. There wasn't any other rock stations I could go to, and so I was told by a consultant named Fred Jacobs. He said, "Listen, something's going to break, but we don't know what yet, or we don't know. We know, but we don't know when. You got to be patient." Well, I got to look out for myself. So I sent out a bunch of tapes and resumes and whatnot, and so. I thought I had a gig in mid-state New York, and I wasn't crazy about it for whatever reason. I can't really remember why. And then Detroit called. And my starting shift at Detroit was 2 a.m. to 5:30. That's what I was hard to do, 2 a.m. to 5:30. And I jumped on it. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to do. So.
Were you married then when you left?
No.
So
that's the thing, too. It's like I had a chance to, pick up and leave if I wanted to. And I was thinking about it coming down here. Sometimes I'll drive down, if I'm on the east side, let's say Mount Clemens or whatever, and I got to go to my house on the west side. Sometimes I'll drive down 94 and go through the city, just at nighttime especially, just because. It's like, I could take 696 and avoid all that, but sometimes I like to see the city. I like to, it's wild to think that a kid that grew up in the country outside of Western New York is now in Detroit and has been for 25 years. So it's, It's pretty wild, but this is a great city, and it's a lot like Buffalo. Hardworking people. The people here are real.
Yeah.
And I think they appreciate someone who's real, and I think that people ask me like, "How did you fit in coming in from Buffalo?" I'm like, I don't know. I love the big three. I love music. So that's how.
Fits perfect.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about your 25 years of riff.
Sure.
We're going to pop this in the oven, but I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to think about it when I come back, because I know the guy I'm going to mention is a friend of yours, Nick Lindstrom. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to ask you a question about Nick Lindstrom, Steve Yzerman, Sergei Fedorov. I'm going to make you pick one.
Uh-oh.
Okay? So don't just pick Nick right away. I'm going to have you pick one. So
I hope Nick might not see this. I don't know.
He might. Who knows? On the other side, we're going to cook this pizza. We're going to be right back. We're going to talk about WRIF.
If you or your family is touched by autism, learn more about Fredi's foundation at #PopTheTab at FrediThePizzaMan.com. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com, or email FrediThePizzaman@gmail.com.
Welcome back, Meltdown. Look at this bad boy.
People are gonna be asking for this now.
Yeah.
You know the double cheese, pepperoni, and the sausage, and not sausage, the mushrooms, and the whole thing. So
that's in case somebody didn't watch the beginning of the clip here. Let's just go back to how you put the pepperoni first, then you put the cheese, then you put the mushroom, then you put the basil.
No, hang on. Pepperoni and mushroom, then the cheese, and then more pepperoni and mushroom, then you said use some more cheese. So.
Then you put some more cheese. Now, the problem is I have no more cheese left in the pizzeria, so I got to close for the week. So all the cheese is right there at Meltdown's Pizza. So, Meltdown, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
And I teased the question before we cooked this pie about the Red Wings. Nick Listener is a friend of yours. You guys became friends during the lockout of 2005?
Yeah, 2004, 2005. So Brian Smolinski's a friend of mine, and they were playing out in Troy, and they were looking for guys to play. So he says, hey, why don't you go out and play with us? And so I'd go out there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday I think it was around 10 o'clock or so. And Nick was always on my team. And so he lives out by me, and so we just kind of became friends. You know, Nick is such a nice guy. You know, they call him the perfect human and whatnot. So, and he was so great. So it's kind of funny. It's like a double-edged sword. I never got a chance to play against him, which is probably pretty good. I was always on his team, and so that was cool. But Steve Yzerman played 3 times with us that year, which was really cool. I probably played with Nick and those guys about 40. And, Chelios would play, and Smoke, and like all these guys, Draper, and Hatcher,
McCarty,
and Manny Legacy. Darren only came out. He came out a couple times. Yeah. He didn't come out much. Yeah. Aaron Ward played all the time. Guys like that. So Sergei Samsonov was great. But so your question?
Well, because he's a friend, but Nick Listener was a great player.
Right.
Great. I mean, one of the greatest defensive of all time.
Without question.
Steve Yzerman, one of the greatest centers of all time.
Yep.
Then you got this Sergei Fedorov.
Yep.
He played defense and he played offense. If you had to pick one guy. You had to keep. I mean, I know this is an impossible question.
It is. It's tough.
But and it's not reality. But if you had to pick one guy to keep on that team, which one of the 3 would you keep? Lindstrom, Yzerman, or Sergei Fedorov?
Boy, that is a tricky question.
Because to me, if Sergei Fedorov was playing today, I think he'd be the best player in hockey.
He could be. Sergei. His whole thing against him was that he took nights off.
Yeah.
Right. And but when he was on, he was on.
Yeah.
And the thing, too, is, like, Nick and Steve Yzerman, like, when Stevie showed up to play, you could feel the level just rise, right? And at this time in his career, Steve was he was clearly going downhill. But because the captain was there, but Steve and Nick had this presence, I believe, in the locker room that guys really looked up to him. But Sergei Fedorov was such flash and flare, and he could really play, and he could open up a game.
The white Nike, the white Nike skates, right? Yeah, he had the swoosh on there. He made those things famous.
Yeah, he did, and my son wore number 91 for several years because of the 5-goal game he had against Washington. Yeah. He saw that in videotape or whatever, and so he loved him. So I don't know if I had to pick one guy. I mean, that's a tough one. I mean,
sounds like Sergei's out of the equation.
So no, you know what? At first, when you first asked me about this, I thought maybe I'd pick Sergei just because he's so good. It's got to. I'd have to say it'd be between Nick and Stevie, and Stevie's such a grinder and such a worker, and what he lacked in like skill like Sergei had. I never thought that Stevie had as much skill. He just made up for it in smarts and brains and just doing the right thing, and being in the right place. Of course, he had a lot more skill when he was younger in his career. So I'd probably have to go with Stevie.
Do you? Nick, now Sergei coming to Detroit. I mean, he could have went elsewhere and it would have been great, even before he came to the Wings.
Yeah.
Do you think Sergey being here, you're the hockey guy, him being here, do you think Yzerman pushed Sergey to be even better than what he...
Well, I think guys like Yzerman and guys like Nick lead by example. And if you're not pulling your weight in that locker room, you know, they will let you know it, you know, I think. And I don't know if anything was ever said to Sergey, because guys knew Sergey was a world-class player. And when he was on his game, there was none better. You know, that Russian 5 movie was great. You saw that.
No, I haven't seen it.
Do you watch sports movies?
No, I watch Judge Judy a lot.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, Judge Villian, yeah. So, no, but that Russian 5 kind of talked about how every year they pushed and pushed and pushed, and finally it broke through. You know?
I'm going to watch it.
Okay, yeah. I got more sports movies. I mean, have you ever seen Spinal Tap?
No.
The greatest rock and roll movie ever made.
You know, who's in that? I heard about that. That's
Christopher Guest and Michael McKean and Harry Shearer.
Oh, I'm going to check that out. I got 2 on my list now because I have seen Rudy 200 times. So I can tell you that.
Yeah, Rudy. I think I watched it once.
Yeah, I know. So how did you become a hockey guy? I mean...
Well, growing up in Buffalo, it's kind of part of the law.
Okay.
You know, it's so close to Canada and stuff.
Yeah.
But there was a kid down the street from me playing hockey, and I was about 8, and I told my dad I wanted to play. And at the time, my dad had a good job and stuff, and so got on a team, you know, started playing and stuff, and, you know, really liked it. What's funny is that in my mid-20s and stuff, I kind of fell out of the hockey thing. And then I came to Detroit, and they asked me to play in the Dave Coulier games down at the Joe. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
And it kind of relit my desire to play again. And so I started playing, and now I play a lot, you know, during normal circumstances.
Yeah.
You know, I play... During the winter, I play 4 or 5 times a week.
You remember '94 NHL when the guy from the Chicago Blackhawks used to punch the other dude, the blood would come off their head?
What's this, in a video game?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That was a great game.
What?
Nintendo. No, it was in the Nintendo, whatever. So, Nintendo. Yeah, it was 94. Yeah, no, I want to go back to 94. Yeah, 94 Nintendo or Sega. Sega. He used to pop him in the head.
Okay.
And the blood would come pouring. He'd pop Gretzky and the blood would come pouring out of Gretzky's head. Yeah.
Well, you got to stay away from Gretzky. I know one guy that hit Gretzky pretty hard, and you know.
Who's that?
Bill McCreary.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've asked him about that a few times. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Man, you know everybody. I want to know Buffalo Sabres. When's the last time they won a cup?
Never.
They've never won a cup?
No.
I was thinking about that on the way in today. I didn't want to search it, but I'm like, I gotta ask him. When's the last time the Buffalo Sabres won a cup?
No, the Buffalo Sabres organization is not great. It's just like
the Lions.
It's just you took the words right out of my mouth.
Because you never hear. You always hear the Lions. You hear the Clippers.
Yeah.
You don't hear the Buffalo Sabres.
You know, I've been here for 25 years, and it's like the Lions have kind of been mediocre the whole time.
Yeah.
They haven't been great.
No.
They've been bad, but they haven't been good. They're kind of, you know.
Isn't it crazy? You come to a town, Ralph Wilson owned the Buffalo Bills, and he lives, you know, he's big in Detroit.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Kind of crazy.
You over on the east side, yeah, no doubt.
So, kind of ended talk a little bit about your 25 years at WRIF.
So, yeah, 25 years, man. I'll tell you, it's funny. I was like, you know, after my 20th, it's like that's the next milestone I'm going for. So on my 20th, I bought myself a Shinola. It's Detroit.
Nice.
And so on my 25th, I got my 25th tattoo, you know, and I got that. And you know, so it's like the amount of pride of being at WRIF is like, I can't even talk about it. My boss put something in a press release and said there's only been 2 guys that have done afternoon drive at RIF. We're going to be 50 years old.
Oh, you're like the Pittsburgh Steelers, only 3 coaches, and they're like the whole franchise.
So, of course, you know, I took over for a legend in Arthur Penhallow. He was like legendary.
Oh, yeah.
I've had a chance to work with Drew and Mike and legends like that. I've interviewed some of the biggest bands in the world. I've done some great things, you know, that I never thought I would have been able to do. You know, what is it, 3-4 years ago, I'm on stage at Comerica Park, and every seat in the place is full for Metallica. You know, it's like stuff like that. And so every once in a while I have to think to myself, I'm just a country kid from Western New York, and here I am doing all this crazy stuff.
What are some of the? I mean, we talked about some of the guests that you've met. I mean, Vince Gill, John Daly, you name it. But some of the famous ones you've had, like in studio, that just stick out to you right away.
You know, it's funny because a lot of the bands don't come into the studio too much anymore. I remember one time about 10 years ago, my boss he came up to me and says, "Oh, by the way, Joe Perry's coming by today." I'm like, "Well, thanks for telling me." It's like, because they had something happen to Steven Tyler. He happened to be driving through the area, and so he stopped by. I've interviewed the guys from Metallica a bunch. Kid Rock's a friend of mine. I mean, just some of the guys I interview. I got my podcast. I do probably about 80 episodes a year. Some of them multiple interviews. The one I just did had Nancy Wilson from Heart, and then Steve Lukather. He's from Toto, but he also wrote the Beat It riff from Michael Jackson. I mean, he's a legend.
Yeah.
And so it's never far from my mind that I'm just a kid from BFE New York, and I get to do what I get to do.
Now, did I ask you your favorite band? Do you have one?
Yeah, I don't know if I really have a favorite band or even a favorite genre or anything. I just I don't know, whatever moves me. I mean, if I had to pick a favorite band, it'd probably be Ozzy or Sabbath. But then sometimes it might be Metallica, and sometimes it might be Alice in Chains. I don't know. It's all over the place. Rob Zombie, whatever.
Rolling Stones, would they be?
Okay, so here's the question. This is how this is Beatles or the Rolling Stones? That's the question, right?
Well, I mean, I don't listen to Riff a lot. I'll be honest with you.
Right, but are you? Those are the two choices.
Well, people might not watch the show again if I tell you I'm not really a huge Beatles fan.
Okay, see, I'm a Beatles guy, so that's
I'm
like
a Rolling Stones guy.
Okay, see, there you go. That you're either one or the other kind of. So I'm kind of more Beatles.
Do you play the Beatles and Rolling Stones a little bit?
No.
Okay.
We leave that for our sister station. But when John Lennon was killed, I discovered my dad had 4 Beatles records, and so that's how I discovered the Beatles. I was such a kid.
Well, I mean, they have a couple. More than a couple.
For sure. So the Rolling Stones, yeah.
Iconic. I was just never. I mean, even my wife. About a month ago, we were having this conversation. I've been married to 13 years. I never knew you didn't like the Beatles. I don't dislike the Beatles.
Right.
You put the Stones on for me. I'm listening to the Stones. I grew up with Stones.
That's the question. Beatles or the Stones? You know, and I kind of tend to lean more towards the Beatles. Maybe just because I heard them more as a kid or whatever. I just heard a Beatles song on the way down here, Penny Lane. It's like such a great song. So it's like.
Maybe I like the Stones because they came to the Silverdome in '81, and then they played the Super Bowl in '81 in Detroit, and I'm a Lions. I don't even know what to say about Lions anymore. So, Lions gonna win another game this year?
I don't know. I'm sure they will. They'll win just enough for people will suck them in.
Keep them in. Keep the coach. Keep the coach. We won enough. We got there, right?
Boy, I don't know the game last week. I don't know. It's like the two teams wanted to lose. It's like, who's going to lose this game, Yeah.
Well, tomorrow, when we're recording this, we're playing Carolina tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think they're going to get destroyed by Carolina. I'm expecting something Lion-esque to happen during that game tomorrow, meaning something, oh my God, it happened to us again. I get that feeling tomorrow with the Carolina game. So when this comes out, we'll see if I'm right or wrong, but I have a feeling. So.
Yeah.
Is the Harley Davidson put away?
I was just thinking about that on the way here. I think I got to call the insurance company. And it's going to snow tomorrow, so I'll probably have to put that away.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Great to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Please donate by visiting our website to support this show and help us equip more sensory rooms in schools. This segment is brought to you by Les Stanford Cadillac Chevrolet in Dearborn, Michigan. Please visit lesstanford.com.